Hello, YouTubers and NFL fans everywhere. This is Matt, the NFL Fanatic, giving you my 2020 NFL Week 11 predictions. Well, for the Fanatic this past week, it was a great week to bounce back. I went 9-4-1 against the spread and 10-4 straight up. So that equals up to 67.9% against the spread and 71.4% straight up. So definitely a great bounce back week. With regard to my previous week where I went 5-9 and 9-5, I did okay straight up, but horribly. That was my worst record against the spread all year. And now overall for the year, I am against the spread 82, 63, and 2, which equals 56.5%, and straight up I am 99, 47, and 1. So that equals up to 56.5 and 67.7% respectively against the spread and straight up for the entire year. So I will gladly take that for this year so far. And I have, sorry guys, I guess for making this video on Tuesday morning. I've had a lot of schoolwork to do, and this will probably be the quickest video I have done, just due to the fact that I have a lot of schoolwork I have to get done over the next couple weeks with the semester winding down. So instead of going into a lot of, in-depth analysis from the previous week, I'm just going to go straight into the picks and give some brief, quick analysis or some quick thoughts on each game. So, for the buys this week, the Bills, the Bears, the Giants, and the San Francisco 49ers all have buys this week. So, if you have Josh Allen, the Bears defense, Stephon Diggs, Daniel Jones, Darius Slayton, the Niners defense, Robbie Gould, Robbie Gould. If any of those players bench them, they will not be playing this week. Alright, so this Thursday, when the 6-3 Arizona Cardinals go to the 6-3 Seattle Seahawks, the Arizona Cardinals are 3-point underdogs in this game. I like Arizona here +3, and Arizona straight up. Then on Sunday, when the 6-1 Philadelphia Eagles go to the 6-3 Cleveland Browns, the Cleveland Browns are 3.5-point favorites in this game. I like Cleveland here -3.5, and Cleveland straight up. Then the next game, when the 3-6 Atlanta Falcons go to the 7-2 New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints are 4.5-point favorites in this game. I like Atlanta here +4.5, but New Orleans straight up. The next game, when the 6-1 Cincinnati Bengals go to the 2-7 Washington Football Team. The Washington Football Team is a 1.5-point favorite. I like Washington here -1.5, and Washington straight up. Then the next game, when the 4-5 Detroit Lions go to the 3-6 Carolina Panthers. The Detroit Lions are 3.5-point underdogs in this game. In an upset, I'm going to take the Detroit Lions here +3.5, and Detroit straight up. Then the next game, when the 9-0 Pittsburgh Steelers go to the 1-8 Jacksonville Jaguars. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 10-point favorites in this game. I like Pittsburgh here -10, and Pittsburgh straight up. Then the next game, when the 6-3 Tennessee Titans go to the 6-3 Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens are 6.5-point favorites in this game. And my biggest upset of the week, I'm going to take the Tennessee Titans here +6.5, and Tennessee straight up. Then the next game, when the 4-5 New England Patriots go to the 2-7 Houston Texans. New England Patriots are 2.5-point favorites in this game. I like New England here -2.5, and New England straight up. The next game, when the 6-3 Miami Dolphins go to the 3-6 Denver Broncos. The Miami Dolphins are 3-point favorites in this game. I like Miami here -3, and Miami straight up. Then the next game, when the 0-9 New York Jets go to the 2-7 Los Angeles Chargers. The Los Angeles Chargers are 9-point favorites in this game. I like the Los Angeles Chargers here to win straight up, but giving the New York Jets +9. Then the next game, when the 7-2 Green Bay Packers go to the 6-3 Indianapolis Colts. The Indianapolis Colts are 2.5-point favorites in this game. I like Green Bay here in an upset. Green Bay +2.5, and Green Bay straight up. And in the final two games, when the 8-1 Kansas City Chiefs go to the 6-3 Las Vegas Raiders, three more games. Let me strike that. We go to the Dallas game. When the 2-7 Dallas Cowboys go to the 4-5 Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings are 9.5-point favorites in this game. I like Minnesota here to win straight up, but giving the Dallas Cowboys +9.5. The next game, when the 8-1 Kansas City Chiefs go to the 6-3 Las Vegas Raiders. The Kansas City Chiefs are 6.5-point favorites in this game. I like Kansas City here -6.5, and Kansas City straight up. And then in the Monday night game, when the 6-3 Los Angeles Rams go to the 7-3 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 3.5-point favorites in this game. I like Tampa Bay here minus 3.5, and Tampa Bay straight up. All right, it's time for my quick thoughts on each game. I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals here plus 3 and Arizona straight up based on the fact that the Seattle defense right now is horrible. They are banged up all the way across the line, and Russell Wilson is playing the worst stretch of football in his career. He's had 10 turnovers over the last 4 games. The only game that he didn't have any turnovers was against the Niners, but that's beating up a banged-up Niners team, which really doesn't count. I like what the Cardinals have been doing. They've been able to run the ball effectively. Kenyon Drake had 16 rushes for 100 yards. Kyler's played well. He has had a touchdown through the air and through the ground in 5 straight games. First QB in the NFL history to do that. They had DeAndre Hopkins, who's been a monster. Calvin Johnson-esque touchdown, Hail Mary to win the game against Buffalo on Sunday. And the Arizona Cardinals have won pretty consistently since 2013 in Seattle. They won in 2013, they won in 2015, they won in 2017, they won in 2019. So they've won 4 of the 5 times, they've won 4 times in the last several years going into Seattle. And Kyler just went into Seattle Week 16 last year and won the game. So I think with all that being said, with the Seattle injuries, with their running backs, their offensive line, their defense, I think it's going to be too much for the Seahawks to overcome in a short week against a better firing and a more efficient Cardinal team right now than the Seahawks. That's why I like Arizona plus 3 and Arizona straight up. The next game, the Browns over the Eagles. I'm taking Cleveland off the sense that I feel that they can run the ball effectively. Philadelphia's defense is not that great. They let Daniel Jones in both their games get rushing touchdowns over 30, or get rushes of over 30-plus yards, one for the 34-yard touchdown. Cleveland was able to run the ball effectively with Chubb and Hunt at a good clip. Baker only had to throw 20 times. I know you could say the Eagles are fighting for something, the Browns are too, but you could argue the Browns are in a deeper hole with teams like the Raiders, Colts, Dolphins, and Bills all fighting for playoff spots and divisions, where the Browns are just purely fighting for a wild card spot, and they have the Ravens in front of them to deal with as well. But I just like what the Browns have been doing. They been able to run the ball well, and I just look at the Philadelphia offense and go, if the Browns defense can limit the run game like they did against Houston, they win the game. Because if you put the ball in Carson Wentz's hands, bad things will happen more often than not in this scenario. Do I think the Eagles have a chance to win? Yes. But I feel like with Philadelphia, they're not clicking right now, and the Browns just have more confidence. And they're at home. The Browns have been a good team at home this year. They played their last few games at home. I think this will be the end of a 3-game homestand. It was raining the last time. They beat a bad Houston team, and Philadelphia is not that much better than Houston. You could argue maybe a little bit worse depending on who you talk to. But that's why I like the Cleveland Browns here minus 3.5 and Cleveland straight up. The next game, the New Orleans Saints over the Atlanta Falcons. This is one where I'm going to trust Sean Payton working with Jameis. I know the Atlanta Falcons, they've been a hot team. They've won 3 of their last 4 games. They've closed 3 fourth-quarter leads in those 3 wins. Todd Gurley's been running well. Calvin Ridley could be back, and that defense has played well. And I know, look, Drew Brees is not going to be in there. Second consecutive year with an injury that's going to be out for an extended amount of time. They really couldn't move the ball effectively after Drew left. But I just have to take the Saints here because Jameis didn't mess anything up. He did have LASIK eye surgery, so hopefully he's not throwing interceptions nearly as bad. And I just have to trust New Orleans' environment here. Atlanta's a good team. Atlanta's on a good roll, and maybe they can sneak in if they get on a roll. But I guess they still have to play Tampa and Kansas City. So the Falcons' playoff hopes are pretty much doomed, I believe, at the end here. But if they can beat New Orleans, this is the prime opportunity to do it because of the transition at quarterback. And also, I just feel like with Atlanta, they don't have a pass rush, and I feel like Jameis, he has enough offensive weapons around him with Kamara, with Thomas, with Callaway, with Cook, with Taysom Hill. He can spread the ball around and be an efficient game manager. And if he doesn't turn the ball over against this Falcons team, I think they win this game. Because the Saints defense has played really well throughout the year, or especially over the last couple weeks. And Dennis Allen's defense usually played pretty well on a consistent basis. But I'm going to take Atlanta here plus 4.5 just because of Drew not being there. I think you have to give Atlanta that much respect over the last 4 games if you watch them. So that's why New Orleans here straight up at Atlanta plus 4.5. Washington, or the Washington football team over the Bengals. I'm taking Washington. They were at home, and I'm going to trust their defense. The Bengals, look, are they as bad as they've shown against the Steelers? They are not. They have played in a lot of competitive games against decent teams up and down the board. Unfortunately, against the 2 best teams in their own division, they got slaughtered. I do not think they will look that bad against Washington. However, I think the Washington defense can use a similar blueprint against the Bengals offensive line the Steelers and Ravens did. And I think Alex Smith will be able to make enough plays with his arm, and I think they'll be able to run the ball okay with Antonio and JD to win this game. Do I think the Bengals have a chance to win? Yes. But I'm going to take Washington on this hunch of they're at home. They're playing for the division. They're still playing for something. And I saw enough out of Washington almost coming back from a 21-point deficit to tell me that they can beat a Bengal team that has good fight, but just can't close games. To where Washington, I just feel like they are still going to play for something. The Bengals are just trying to play for, reps and respect. That's why I like Washington here -1.5 and Washington straight up. The next game, the Detroit Lions over the Carolina Panthers. Teddy Bridgewater and Christian McCaffrey may not play, but that's enough. I feel like with the Lions, they've played okay football. I'm not a big Matt Patricia fan. That could have been the 9th time in his tenure that he could have blown a 10-point lead. But I look at Detroit here. Stafford played well. Stafford, made some nice decisions, some good throws. And I will take Detroit's momentum and talent against Carolina's lack of pass rush and injured stars at the running back and quarterback position. Though I do want to congratulate Teddy Bridgewater for tying his career high in most consecutive completions at 12. So good for him there. That's like Detroit Lions here +3.5 and Detroit straight up. The next game, the Pittsburgh Steelers over the Jags. Pittsburgh dominated the Bengals. They can do the same, if not worse, than the Jags. Johnny Robinson's not going to get 100 yards on the ground, and that pretty much ruins the Jags' chances. Also, the Steelers beat the Jags last time in Jacksonville in 2018. The last time the Jags went and hosted the Steelers and won was 2006, a 9-0 game led by in the Jack Del Rio era. So that's why I like Pittsburgh here -10 and Pittsburgh straight up. The next game, the Tennessee Titans over the Baltimore Ravens. This is a game where it's going to be a carbon copy of the 2020 AFC divisional round. The Ravens defense is banged up right now. Brandon Williams and Calais Campbell both have been hurt with injuries. We lost Nick Boyle. Lamar had a rough night in the tropical storm that was coming up, or the cold front that was coming through that ravaged Ohio and my area for our game early on. And do I think the Ravens have a chance? Yes, but that would depend on if we can get the ball and if we can, if the Titans can't stop anybody. And the special teams, helps out. But I feel like with the Titans, they have the exact same formula and the exact same success that wins them the game this time that they did against the divisional round before. That's like Tennessee are +6.5 and Tennessee straight up. Next game, the New England Patriots over the Houston Texans. New England, Bill Belichick is 14-13 all time against his former assistants. The Houston Texans could not put up any offense against the Cleveland Browns. The Pats, if they have run the ball 30+ times, they are 4-0. Or 35+ times, they are 4-0. They definitely can run the ball against this horrible Houston defense. And I just feel like, again, the Pats, they have the momentum. They've been a better team. They can run the ball. Cam can make some efficient plays. He's not thrown a lot of touchdowns, but he's ran for now double-digit touchdowns, which is pretty impressive for Cam's sake. And I just feel like, again, the Pats just have been better and more effective. Actually, I think for only the second time in this series of games, Belichick's only lost 2 times overall against Houston in general. Back in the Wes Welker game, and last year with Bill O'Brien and Deshaun Watson beating up Brady 29-22. That's like New England here -2.5 and New England straight up. The next game, the Miami Dolphins over the Denver Broncos. Miami is on a roll. They are probably the most consistent, sneaky team that could maybe make the deepest run. I just like the Dolphins defense, and I like Brian Flores as a coach better than John Gruden and the Raiders. And Denver right now is an absolute mitigated disaster. They can't run the ball. Drew Lock had 4 turnovers. He only completed 55% of his passes. If it wasn't for the Los Angeles Chokers being the Chokers, he could be winless right now at quarterback, which would literally mean that Billy Ripien and I forget. Let's see. They won the game with Ripien with the Jets. Oh yeah. He should only have 1 win under his belt because they did beat the Patriots 18-12. I had to think about that for a second. And I just look at Miami, and this Miami team. Look, this game was a COVID pushback due to the Broncos having some having some positive tests, not being able to play, and because they had to move the New England game. And I just think like Miami's just firing on all cylinders. They've been able to run the ball well. Tua is the first quarterback since Carson Wentz to win his first 3 starts without throwing a pick. Though he has had 2 fumbles. And I just feel like this is not even going to be a contest. I feel like Miami, Flores is going to out-defense Fangio, and Tua's going to be able to make a few more plays with his legs and his arms, be more efficient than Drew Lock. And Tua's going to have a lot more building around him compared to Drew Lock and the Broncos, who, no offense, been up and down with injuries. Their offensive line's been banged up. They haven't had Jarrell Casey. They haven't had Von Miller. They don't really have a pass rush. And I just feel like the Dolphins just will kind of roll through the Broncos in an easy way. That's like Miami -3, Miami straight up. The next game, the Los Angeles Chargers of the New York Jets. I'm taking the Jets here +9 because the Chargers, that's just how bad they are. I think with Joe Flacco starting, I think that will give them a competitive chance to get a backdoor cover or even be competitive in the game. I just think the Chargers are talented. They beat the Jags. And even if I lose this game by 9 points, the only win that Justin Herbert has is a 10-point win, 39-29 over the Jaguars. So that's 10. So if the Jets lose by 10, I can live with that. It was a 9 points cover. They covered by 1 point. And I like what the Chargers have been doing. Herbert's played pretty much a pretty good year. He had 2 picks for the first time in his career. He had the lowest amount of passing yards by the Miami Dolphins defense. This is not the Dolphins defense. This is the Jets defense, one of the worst in the league. And I just feel like the only reason why if Darnold was playing this game, I would have picked the Chargers -9 because Sam Darnold's been horrible. Joe Flacco, unfortunately for Sam Darnold, has shown that he should be the starting quarterback genuinely moving forward. And that's why I like the Chargers here. But the New York Jets +9. Next game, the Packers over the Colts. I'm going with the better quarterback. The Green Bay Packers have the better quarterback. I know the Packers' run defense is horrible, and the Colts have 3 decent running backs in Taylor, Hines, and Wilkins. So they are going to try to run the ball effectively, and the Colts are going to make the Packers earn every single yard. But at the end of the day, I don't know if that pass rush will be able to effectively get to Rodgers. I think Rodgers will be able to make some throws. The secondary is kind of their weak point. It's their weaker points. Their front seven's their strong point. Their secondary is a bit of the weaker back end. And I just don't think Phillip Rivers, going against the Packers defense, I don't think he's going to be able to make that many plays because the Packers can generate a pass rush at times. And I think they win based off of that. Could the Colts win this game? Sure. I think the Colts are a good team, and this would be a huge win for the Colts, and it would pretty much tell the Packers that they would be kind of going into that NFC West category of where you could just say the 2 contenders for the NFC could arguably be in the same division, New Orleans and Tampa, where everybody else is just contending, to make it to the championship game or not. Everybody else probably wouldn't matter. So that's why Green Bay here +2.5 and Green Bay straight up. The next game, the Dallas Cowboys over the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings over the Dallas Cowboys. I'm taking the Minnesota Vikings here. They've been on a roll, 3 straight wins. Dalvin Cook's run pretty effectively. Kirk Cousins got his first win on Monday Night Football in 10 tries. They held the Bears' offense to 36 total yards in the second half. I know the Cowboys aren't going to play that badly, but they were getting Andy Dalton back after 2 weeks of not being able to practice due to a concussion and COVID, getting the coronavirus. And I just feel like, again, the Minnesota Vikings are just too hot right now to go up against the Cowboy team that showed a lot of life against Pittsburgh, but for the most part, they still couldn't win the game. And Andy Dalton, as good as he is, I think will he play better than Gilbert? Will he be better than Ben DiNucci? Sure, but give me the Vikings here. Too good of a team, too much on a roll. And I think the Vikings, they're seriously going to be in this wildcard race because they play the Panthers and the Jags in the next 2 weeks. You could be looking at a 7-5 football team that gets to play the Bears again and the Lions again to get the 9 wins. And they could very much, sneak in. And Mike Zimmer, as much as I'm not the biggest fan of his, he might be able to ride this momentum into keeping his job for 2021, especially if they make the playoffs from a 1-5 start. I still think he needs to win a playoff game, but I feel like that's just too much momentum against me not to keep him. Because if you win that many games, it's very much like the Chiefs in 2015. They were 1-4. They beat the Steelers. They go on this 10-game roll. Kind of the same thing. They beat the Packers in a big upset. Kind of the same role the Vikings seem like they're going on with how they're playing right now. So that's like the Minnesota Vikings here straight up with the Dallas Cowboys +9.5. And in the final 2 games, the Chiefs over the Raiders. The Chiefs, to me, are the football team that I believe will be one of the most motivated to play this game against the Raiders Mahomes usually plays his best against the Raiders on a consistent basis. And to me, I have the Chiefs winning this game by 6.5 because it's not a full touchdown. If this was 7 or more, I'd probably take the Raiders, but 6.5, I do think the Chiefs win this game. I think that the Chiefs also have Andy Reid, who's been phenomenal on a bye. He's only lost, I believe, 1 or 2 times in his entire career. Coming off a bye week, they'll be motivated, and they're motivated just from anger from the Raiders apparently celebrating in Kansas City around Arrowhead Stadium just back in Week 5. Do I think the Raiders could win this game? Sure, because I think they've had the most quality wins over basically any team in the league. With wins over the Chiefs, the Saints, they have wins over the Browns. They have the most probably quality against good teams by record. But I think the Chiefs are just going to play a little bit better, a little more motivated, and they're going to play a better defensive effort and contain Jacobs enough to win this game. And also, I don't think they're going to give up as many big-time throws to Henry Ruggs or Aguilar, through the secondary. It could happen, but, I don't think it will. That's like the Chiefs are minus 6.5, and Chiefs straight up. And finally, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the Los Angeles Rams. I'm going to take the Bucs here because I saw Jared Goff go down to Florida just a couple weeks ago. He got demolished by the Dolphins' pass rush. The Bucs' pass rush is better. The Bucs also will have the advantage of getting to play the backup left tackle because Andrew Whitworth tore his MCL and his PCL. And I know what people are going to say. Well, the Bucs have lost Ali Marpet. He's been dealing with concussion. That's fair enough. But I feel like the Bucs just have a little bit of a better defensive strategy. And if you're going to tell me in this kind of game where both defenses might cause havoc with their teams, I'll take Tom Brady over Jared Goff in this scenario from these two guys and how they played this year. Tom Brady has played pretty much clean and good football outside of the games against New Orleans. So I feel like with the Rams, they've been shown that they can have some bad moments, and I just feel like, again, I think the Bucs are going to get some short fields due to some Jared Goff turnovers that give the Bucs the edge at this game to get them to what would that be, 8-3 before ending the game, before entering their big game against the Chiefs next week, the Sunday after Thanksgiving. So those are my picks for this week. Like, comment, rate, subscribe. Please check out the NFL YouTube Prognosticators page. There are several great prognosticators, such as Andrew Warren, The Blind Canadian Cat, Red Zone Rosano, Fire and Brim Sports, Sports Fan Entertainment. Please check out all those half-moon picks. They're all linked in my channel on the NFL YouTube Prognosticators page. Please check them all out. They're great people and great prognosticators just like I am. And until next week, this is Matt the NFL Fanatic signing off. I will probably be making my video next Monday for the holiday, so we'll be back on the Monday schedule. But until then, good luck to everybody, and everybody, especially at this time, please social distance, wear a face mask, and wash your hands frequently. We will all get through this together. Until next week, this is Matt the NFL Fanatic signing off. So long.